When we hear the name Ragnar Lodbrok, we don't imagine uncertainty. We imagine a towering Viking warrior, braided hair, blood-stained axe, eyes fixed on the horizon, a dragon-proud ship cutting through dark northern seas. We imagine the man who raided Paris, the man thrown into a pit of snakes, the father of Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, and Ubba. But here is the problem. Almost everything we think we know about Ragnar comes from sagas written centuries after he supposedly lived. The saga of Ragnar Lodbrok, the tale of Ragnar's sons. Later medieval chronicles blending legend and history. These stories are rich, dramatic, unforgettable. But they were written in the 12th and 13th centuries, nearly 300 years after the Viking Age began. In them, Ragnar is larger than life. He slays monsters, he marries shield maidens, he wears magical trousers that protect him from venom, earning him the name Lodbrok, meaning hairy breeches. It is epic. But is it real? If Ragnar was not the saga hero, then who was he? To find Ragnar, we must travel to the late 8th and 9th centuries. Scandinavia was changing, population pressures increased, trade networks expanded, political power began consolidating under ambitious chieftains. And in 793 AD, something happened that would echo across Europe. The monastery of Lindisfarne in Northumbria was attacked. It shocked the Christian world. The Viking Age had begun. Raids spread across England, Ireland, and the Frankish Empire. Viking longships moved swiftly along rivers and coastlines. These were not random pirates. They were organized war bands led by powerful chieftains. Europe was fragmented. Kingdoms were divided. Rivalries were constant. And in that fractured landscape, bold leaders could carve out fame, wealth, and power. The historical record from this era is uneven. Most written sources come from Christian monks, often victims of Viking raids. Their accounts are biased, fearful, and sometimes exaggerated. Meanwhile, Scandinavian culture preserved history orally. Stories were told, sung, and reshaped. In that mix of fear and folklore, a name appears: Ragnar. Unlike King Arthur, Ragnar appears in multiple traditions, but none are straightforward. Frankish chronicles describe a Viking leader named Ragnar, who attacked Paris in 845 AD. He led a fleet of longships up the River Seine. He defeated the Frankish army. He forced King Charles the Bald to pay a massive ransom in silver. Some historians believe Ragnar could be Ragnar. The timeline fits, the scale fits, the audacity fits, but the name is slightly different. Is Ragnar Ragnar, or someone else entirely? Meanwhile, Anglo-Saxon sources describe the arrival of the Great Heathen Army in England in 865 AD. This massive Viking force was led by figures named Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan, Ubba. Later Norse sagas claim these men were Ragnar's sons, invading England to avenge their father's death. The story says that Ragnar had been captured by King Ella of Northumbria and thrown into a pit of snakes. Before dying, he supposedly declared, "How the little pigs would grunt if they knew how the old boar suffers." Epic, but contemporary sources do not clearly confirm this dramatic death. King Ella existed. The Great Heathen Army existed. But was their leader's father truly Ragnar? Or was Ragnar created later to unify different Viking exploits into one legendary ancestor? There is another possibility. Ragnar Lodbrok may not have been a single individual. He may have been a composite, a merging of several powerful Viking leaders into one unforgettable figure. Memory condenses, stories simplify, heroes combine. Let us strip away the sagas. Forget the snake pit. Forget the magical trousers. What remains? If Ragnar existed, he was likely a Scandinavian warlord active in the mid-9th century. Not a king in the medieval European sense, but a powerful chieftain. He would have commanded fleets of longships, fast, shallow draft vessels capable of navigating rivers deep into enemy territory. He was probably experienced in both raiding and diplomacy. The Viking world was not only violence, it was trade, alliances, negotiation. His armor would not have been theatrical. No horned helmet, likely a simple iron helmet, chainmail if wealthy, shield, sword, or axe. His strength would not have been mythical invulnerability. It would have been leadership, charisma, fearlessness. In Viking society, fame mattered. A successful raid increased prestige. Prestige attracted followers. Followers built power. If Ragnar led the Paris raid of 845, he was bold beyond measure, sailing hundreds of kilometers inland, confronting one of Europe's most powerful kingdoms, and walking away with immense wealth. That kind of exploit would echo across generations. But what if Ragnar was not one man? What if he was the Paris raider, plus a Danish king mentioned in Irish annals, plus a Swedish sea king referenced in Saxon texts? Over time, oral tradition may have woven them together, creating not a fabrication, but an amplification. So how does a Viking chieftain become the father of legends? Storytelling. The Viking Age prized reputation. Skalds, Norse poets, preserved deeds in verse. These verses survived long after the warriors died. When Christianity spread through Scandinavia, oral traditions were finally written down. But by then, centuries had passed. Writers wanted heroes. They wanted epic origins. They wanted a unifying ancestor for powerful dynasties. And Ragnar became that figure. He became the ideal Viking, the fearless explorer, the defiant captive, the father of conquerors. His supposed sons, Ivar, Bjorn, Ubba, are historically attested. That alone gave Ragnar credibility. Even if he was partially legendary, attaching real historical figures to his lineage anchored the myth in reality. And the snake pit? It is a perfect ending. Dramatic, symbolic, martyr-like. Whether true or not, it immortalized him. Here is the paradox. If Ragnar never existed as a single individual, he still represents something very real: the explosive force of the Viking Age, the transformation of Scandinavia from scattered chieftains into kingdoms, the fear that gripped Europe, the mobility of the longship, the shifting balance of power. Ragnar may be myth, he may be memory, he may be a mosaic of men, but he embodies a historical turning point, and that is why he endures. Not because of snakes, not because of prophecy, but because he symbolizes a generation that reshaped Europe. This is the real Ragnar Lodbrok, not just saga, not just legend, but a shadow cast by history itself, revived. Want to see more historical legends reborn with modern AI? Subscribe and join us as we bring the past back to life. Who should we revive next? Let us know in the comments.